Let's do a little mini business course on people not recognizing kind of areas that they can leverage. I think sometimes they what I love about what I do, and even in companies like you can go in and see what's hidden in plain sight. And so, what are three areas, a three-part business course? What are three areas that people aren't leveraging that they should be raising their awareness on? And then once their awareness is there, then a company like yours can come in and do their work. So,
Yeah.
what would be number one?
Well, I think first off is a lot of times when we talk to small businesses, they'll say that we really can't invest in somebody like you, or we're not sure we're really able to utilize your services because we don't have a lot of information to start with. And we always say, look, you don't have to have a Salesforce CRM. You don't have to invest in hundreds of thousands of dollars. We refer to it as a digital shoebox. A simple example, we do a lot of work in the tourism industry. And so we had a client, one of the state tourism offices, that actually at all of the points of entry where you see the welcome centers when you cross a state line and you stop off, go to the bathroom, get a drink, whatever the case might be, they actually had a paper binder that was sitting off to the side where they were asking folks to provide the information of what's your name, what's your home address, where are you going in the state, and how long are you going to stay. And I honestly, John, was blown away when I found out in the course of the year, the state had 900,000 people that had voluntarily walked in and filled out a paper piece of information with a pen. And all they had was those pages, and they were not doing anything with that. So you didn't have to load that into, as I said, a sophisticated CRM. But for us, I would say number one of those three things would be recognizing that there are data sources that you might have overlooked or you might have discounted.
Yeah.
And whether or not, you don't have to have this expensive collection methodology. They could be in a spreadsheet, and you just simply keep Excel information somewhere that you ultimately would leverage. So I would say that's number one.
All right, good. What's number two?
Yeah, I would say number two is whether or not people really understand how to measure the effectiveness of their campaigns. We started 38 years ago, so there was two primary channels. There was telemarketing and direct mail. And that's all that existed in the 80s, 1986. Now we have this proliferation of 50 different channels, let alone influencers and all these other things. It doesn't, again, have to be a sophisticated methodology for measuring responsiveness necessarily, but have something, right? Come up with to say, if we spent this amount of money this year, what was our return on that investment? Next year, what is going to be our return on investment? How do we allocate that budget across the channels and come up with whether it's a rudimentary measurement strategy or a sophisticated measurement strategy?
Yeah.
So get better at being able to track successes and failures.
Yeah. All right, good. I like it. What's number three?
And then the third thing I would say is with so many channels, making sure that you actually do some due diligence to understand which ones are working and which ones are not. A lot of folks go to a conference and they hear about, influencers. Influencers are great. You really need to add influencers. Well, I would question in every business, someone sit down and have a hard heart-to-heart with himself to say, is that really going to work for us? If it is, great. Look at leaning in a small way and then determining whether or not you have measured response. But there are so many channels now. It's doing the due diligence to be able to understand and look at what's working for you, whether that, again, is sophisticated measurement or unsophisticated.
Yeah, and what I would add to that, thanks for that, Jim. What I would add to that is you really got to pay attention to the whispers and the subtles and the nuances of what's working and what's not. What I have found is you can't fall in love with anything. Because you gotta because otherwise you miss the important feedback. I have another company called Launch 3, and we got so much great feedback that our 2.0 version of it, we completely immersed ourselves in the feedback and the beta testing of what we then evolved to, and it was incredible. But we weren't tied to the idea. And I sometimes think people fall in love too much with an idea or an opinion. And I think that, when you're tracking things and you're not forecasting effectively and you're getting feedback, but you're so in love that you're not listening, it can really get in the way. And then you wake up one day and it's like, wait, what did we miss? Any thoughts on that?
No, I think as humans, and especially as marketers, we all love the latest, greatest shiny object. And
Yeah.
if we read an article or we hear anecdotally somebody say, oh my gosh, this is working so great for me, we're like, I'm off to that.
Yeah.
Well, if back to my earlier point, if we really don't have some form of measurement in place, maybe what we're doing works really well, and maybe we need to go heavier into that. So I would say it's great to understand what all of those shiny objects are in the marketplace, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to work for you.
Yeah.
I think understanding, where you're generating your revenue, where you're building your awareness, where you're converting leads, and then understand maybe this is really good, and we'll do tests. We always beat the drum, John, around crawl, walk, run, right? Let's learn in the process, and let's find out. You hear about something great, let's make a nominal investment in that and see how it works. And if it does work well, then we can heavy up in it. If it doesn't, all right, we retrench.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Thank you for that.